Local Women Magazine presents Local Women Podcast, the show for things that matter.
Hello and welcome to the next edition of the Local Women Magazine podcast. With me today is a phenomenal man with an incredible story to tell, Stephen Watton from ProActive Healthcare. You're very welcome, Stephen.
Good morning.
Good morning. I don't know where to start, but first of all, I think the best place to start is about ProActive Healthcare and how it came about and why you set it up. So we can tell people, first of all, about your business and where it came from.
Yeah, my journey was, I started out my life in the assurance industry because I thought that's what I wanted to do, and I had some people to look up to in that industry. And I saw their lifestyle, and I thought that it would be my home.
Yes.
But after a while, I realised that I made an awful mistake. It was full of older guys, very few young people, and there was no excitement, no buzz. It was a dreary drudge.
So you hated going into work?
It was terrible.
Oh, okay.
I used to find that there was a little room in the building that nobody used, and I used to go in there and lie down and sleep to escape. But
yeah.
And then I started to do some extra courses, mainly in marketing, and I started to look for agencies.
Yes.
For myself. And one night at a dinner, I sat down. It was a men's dinner, and the person beside me was an architect, and he had just designed some new profiles, created basically conservatories.
Okay.
So this was back in the 80s, very early 80s. And he asked me, what I did in the conversation. I told him. He said, "You're just exactly what I'm looking for.
Okay.
How would you like to come and have a conversation?" So that led me into an exciting arena where I look forward to getting up every day. Unfortunately, there was bad management, and I got more involved and put my own savings into it, and they went bankrupt.
Didn't work out? Goodness.
Well, one of the directors was stealing from the company in a big way, and I got
You had to then sort of start again, and
So I turned 40.
Okay.
And I instantly knew the moment they told me that they were in bankruptcy. I instantly knew that I was too.
Okay.
Because I had everything and more invested in them.
Yes.
And I'd bought into it. So I was the last person in Northern Ireland to go through a 5-year bankruptcy.
Right.
And it was the most amazing journey that I've ever been on.
It was
It was
enlightening and scary at the same
wonderful,
time? Yeah.
Wonderful.
Okay.
It caused despair and tears and
But
desperation.
I get sort of in some ways maybe cathartic that you could just like start again after you got through it. So you've gone through the worst of it, but come out the other side.
Yes, but I also realised that I wasn't on a path in my life that was really fulfilling.
Yes.
And that I had looked to material success.
Yes.
So as I got to that 40 mark, just before they went into receivership,
Yes.
I reckoned I'd made it. So I was walking around like a 40-year-old kid on the block.
Yeah.
With,
I'm the
nice
man kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yep.
I've made it
Yeah.
at 40. And in a few strokes, I was reduced. My ego had to take it out and shoot it.
Yeah.
But I also found a faith and a belief that was life-changing.
Yes.
I also it became, and this part of the story will unfold in a minute or two, I wanted, once I realised that it was quite something, I decided I'd like to put something in. So I became the secretary of the Bankruptcy Association.
Okay.
And so I was able to help other guys.
And you also learned then, you've
then
gone through it, so you were able to empathise with them.
Yes.
Okay.
Also then ended up working with an organisation for a couple of years called CAP, which was
Yes.
later in life.
So in terms of proactive healthcare, it
Yeah.
did come from something very dark in your life regarding your health.
Yeah, so I had to think about what I wanted to do with the rest of my life, but I also needed to think about, and I'd read, and I was an avid reader, and I'd been invited by one particular book to look at what was my passion.
Yes.
And I realized that my passion was health. So that, and to finish the 5 years,
Yes.
a couple of my friends decided they were going to take me skiing
Right.
to Lake Tahoe. So we flew into San Francisco. They'd booked, and I said, I can't afford it. Eventually my wife said, you got to go. And I got on a plane. They were sitting together. I ended up sitting in a random seat beside my fellow traveller. And that was an amazing moment.
This was like a light bulb moment, this flight, wasn't it? This person,
It was.
yes.
So this was an American doctor, and we shared a bit like the story at the dinner table. We shared our stories. You know, what are you doing? Why? You know, where are you going? Etc. Etc. He listened to me for a while, and it was almost a mirror image of. I said, "What are you doing? What have you been doing in London?" He said, "I realise I've been looking for you," and
Wow.
it was quite amazing.
Yeah.
We got off the plane, we shook hands, we became business partners,
Wow.
and within 18 months, I had a database that very quickly grew to 16,000, and I had spoken to most of these people myself, and started off in my garage at a table with a duplicate book and a telephone. He was writing a best-selling book,
Yes.
and he put my details at the back of it. So if you're in the UK or in Ireland or in Europe, actually, you should contact
What a
Stephen
gift.
Watton.
That's brilliant. Yeah. And this was This was the start of proactive
So
healthcare?
this was, I called it the health ministry
Okay.
at that time. But I got so many calls from people wanting their dole money that I decided that I was going to get arrested if I kept going. Oh, well, anyway, I changed it, and with a doctor in London, and we came up with, and she asked me for a name for her, and then she didn't take it, and I said ProActive Healthcare. So I came home and I thought, well, if she doesn't want it, I'll have that myself.
Okay, so tell me about
how it started.
proactive healthcare and the products that you actually, because I have been on your website.
Yes.
And to me, it's quite holistic. It's not just medicine, there's a holistic approach to it.
It has evolved.
Yes.
So that first database was created with pre, mid, and post-menopausal females,
Yes.
believe it or not.
Yes.
And that's how my wife became involved. Because the conversations were getting to the stage where I think I need to step back and you need to step in. I'll take care of the marketing, look at the direction we're going, but you got to talk to these ladies. Then in 2010, my daughter finished university, and we encouraged her to go and work with
Right.
another company so that she would learn some boundaries and discipline
Okay.
before she came home.
And you wanted her to work with you? Yeah.
She's an exceptional person.
Okay.
And so Sarah has been, Jude has met her, and Sarah's there today, and she's running ProActive Healthcare. ProActive Healthcare is the result of myself being at death's door in 2000 with mercury poisoning.
So what was that from? Was it from your
Amalgams
fillings?
in my mouth.
My goodness.
And when we started to look back, and I had some people who were able to read what was going on in my body, they reckoned that I had been allergic to the mercury from the age of 14.
And you didn't realise you weren't feeling what the symptoms were?
I knew that I had the most horrible digestive system
Right.
that one could have. But it turned out that it was mercury wreaking havoc in my digestive system. So I actually had leaky gut.
Oh, right, okay.
I had food particles in my blood. My immune system was so distracted by trying to deal with this.
Your body just was attacking itself almost,
Absolutely. I became grey.
Yeah.
I started to put on weight. Most people, they didn't know that. My friends thought I had cancer, that I really was. But I was really ill.
Yeah.
So that, I ended up in a clinic. I found a doctor here in Belfast, a GP who had gone into, and also had diversified, so he was a metal toxicologist.
Yes.
And he read my blood and he said, he sent it off to a lab and came back and said, you have 170 times more mercury in your body
Holy moly.
than you should have. And I've only ever seen one person with levels like that, and they were 150, and I'm afraid they're dead. So you need to do something urgently.
So how did you get it out of your body?
I had to sit through chelation therapy, so intravenous chelation in a 3-hour drip 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Here in Belfast.
When did you...
5 years, for 5 years.
For 5 years?
5 years.
Before
the readings were, at a safe level.
Yeah. So having come through that and sort of felt, okay, it's been a long journey, but I'm finally over that. You had another second wave of tragedy. It really hit you then as well.
Well, it's interesting because you're sitting in a waiting room, and everyone who's in the waiting room is ill. Mm-hmm. Quite a lot of them with cancer patients. And they have gone the allopathic route, they have gone the chemotherapy route.
You would try anything.
And then they realise they're not winning this war. And it is a war.
Of course it is.
And then they start to look. Unfortunately, in this clinic, too many people arrived at the door too late. Mm-hmm. So instead of going the allopathic route, listening to their consultants, but also saying to themselves, what can I do? What else can I do?
Because you will do anything if you heard that you had a cancer diagnosis. Yeah.
Now, it's much, much clearer now.
Yes.
And I think the world is a lot wiser and more informed to it. But it's amazing the number of people today who spend thousands on the outside of their body.
Yes.
And spend nothing on the inside of the body. They think that an ordinary diet does it.
Yes.
And we know that it doesn't.
No, we know more and more about gut health because and the microbiome in the gut and how it's as important as the brain.
Absolutely.
I'm fascinated by this subject, I have to say.
And that's where we are today.
And that's exactly where your products are trying to inform people about how important it is to have a healthy gut and what you can do for that and how you can change your diet in different ways. Just going back to it, you did have a terrible tragedy in your life as well in terms of cancer, not just yourself being ill, but your dear wife.
Yeah.
Yes. How on earth did you deal with that? You don't mind me bringing this up because this is something that a lot of people have to deal with.
I'll give you on the day of her funeral, and as we walked away, so the next morning was lockdown. The undertaker and I had been friends for most of our lives, and his daughter was there, and I said, "Do you have a folder or a guide for me?" And one looked at the other and said, "No." And the girl said to her dad, you know, we've been talking about this for years. And 6 months later, she phoned me up. She said, I want to thank you for prompting us. We've now created a little book that gives you a road to follow.
Out of grief?
Out of grief. But that journey, I realized that that her death was imminent. She didn't at all, and she died on on a Friday, and on the Wednesday she said to me, I don't think I'm going to make this.
She knew, yeah.
Yeah, but up until that moment, she was living and going to live. I had put some orders in. I had a hyperbaric oxygen chamber coming that arrived the week after her death. I had a product called Hocket, which you sit in, and it gives you 10 treatments in 30 minutes. It was very expensive, but the cost, I didn't consider it. And I was left with this, wondering, what are you going to do? So in her memory, I started to look and to put it out.
So her legacy is that your research, essentially.
Yeah,
yes.
and I'd gone through a series of learning about intentions.
Yes.
And as almost an intention, as in a prayer.
Yeah.
And so I started to put it out there. And people, the phone rang and people arrived. And it was amazing. People around me going, where are you advertising? I'm not.
Yeah.
This is blowing me away as much as you.
Yes.
So I ended up with 8 cancer patients in their own hyperbaric oxygen chamber.
We were able to use those chambers then for basically it's like a gift that she has given them, really.
And so I got in touch with the manufacturer, and I said that I'm aware of my costs, but I'm also aware at what these are selling for in the United Kingdom. And they said, well, you don't have the rights to the United Kingdom, someone else has. But you've got the rights to Ireland, and from Ireland you can sell them anywhere at whatever price you want to.
Yes.
So I was able to cut the price by 50%.
Yes.
And allow people to buy their chambers, and where they couldn't afford them, we subsidised them and put them out there. Yeah.
So that's how that journey and going back now to the gut health and to the products that you do, and this is something that I think people are ill-informed about how you can make these changes to your life that maybe will prevent you getting a cancer or getting a serious illness, instead of getting the illness and then suddenly having to try and find a way of stopping it.
Exactly.
But that's why you're
it is ProActive.
So ProActive, that's the name of your company. Yeah. So tell me about the how you go about actually making some of the products that you make for ProActive. Well, and who researches it for you, and what doctors and who you listen to and gone to for research?
So we have in every product that we have a doctor behind it. So my role has been researcher, investigation. I started to find that doctors started to phone us and say, look, I don't have time to look into this, but I've heard about this. Could you look into it for us? And if it's right, then they would say, could you bring it into stock?
Yes.
So we started to stock a range of products that had medical backing. And so our customers could write to these people, or through us. We also could ask the questions as they came up. And so we built up a library of knowledge.
Yes.
Over the past 30 years. We were very fortunate. We found a company where the husband, and at that stage they were boyfriend, girlfriend, gone to university, and he specialised in the human gut.
Wow.
And unknown to him, his wife was on a similar path. They got married, got together, and then they put a team of people around them, and they have the most fantastic range of gut health products.
Yes, two great minds together.
Yeah. And I had been searching for someone like this, and it was like a bit of another, okay, so, right, great.
Yeah. How infuriated do you get when you see people online, or particularly like on social media now, saying this will do this. This is for your gut. This, who are ill-informed, who haven't done the research, and maybe have products that are completely inferior. You know, despite like all your research, you wouldn't put something on the market without it being absolutely sure about it.
No.
That must be really. It is scary as well, because there's little sort of impressionable minds can see things online, and maybe that they're nothing better. They're nothing more than just a bit of sugar in a capsule.
I think it's just the world we live in, and it's all around us.
Yeah.
In every market, in every arena. Today, the only thing that I can hope for is that, you know, to be a disciple now, my real interest is in the human gut.
Of course.
And understand that is the core of your health. Mm-hmm. So we actually have just registered ProActive gut care.
Right, very good.
And so that's the next step of the journey.
Because people don't like to talk about their guts, do they? They just don't. And it'll be better if we get more people talking about it and how we can prevent it. And like simply by eating some great sort of varieties of different plants and fibres that we're not getting enough of, you could actually feel better.
Yeah, there's some wonderful products out there now. There's a product, most people who have indigestion and have acid reflux, and they end up in all these omeprazoles, and there's many of them. They're actually now, there's a lot of, be careful what I say, but there's a lot of writing, a lot of thought about it being behind dementia.
Right, okay.
And that the state of your gut has got a lot to do with this.
Absolutely.
Right?
They say it's your second brain, isn't that right?
Absolutely. So a lot of people who have indigestion and have acid reflux, it's because they haven't enough acid in their stomach.
Yes.
And so there's now a range of products that you can take that tell you exactly the state of your gut. There's also breath tests that tell you the state of your gut. There's one product, and do you remember Rob C. Nesbitt?
How could we forget?
And his string vest.
Yeah.
A lot of people's gut is basically like a string vest. It's full of holes.
Yeah.
And this is a product now where you put in prebiotics and probiotics, and you clear the bacteria, and then you basically pull the string vest together.
Starting to close the holes.
Yeah, because most people think that the biggest organ in your body is your skin outside, but there's actually more skin inside than there is outside.
Right.
There's skin on every organ.
Yeah, of course.
You think about it, you go into a butcher shop, you look at a liver or a kidney or whatever. And so this addresses the skin on your organs.
Yeah.
And if you start to get this right, you might someday understand that you might not need Botox. You might not need a facelift.
Because your body will be feeling so good, it'll come out. Yeah.
Your own radiance.
Of course.
Your radiant health will shine through here.
That's fascinating, it really is.
Yeah.
Stephen, can you tell me if somebody wanted to get in contact with ProActive, what's the best place to go to?
The website, proactivehealthcare.co.uk.
Okay.
Also, there's one for the south of Ireland, proactivehealthcare.ie for Euro. And we have a special site put together for practitioners. So anyone who's selling or involved in supplying nutrients or healthcare products,
But
and
wants
they are
to
a
know
practitioner,
yes.
there's a private site.
Okay.
And they can also share with their client.
Okay, that's brilliant. It's been lovely talking to you today. It's a fascinating story, and it is so good to see you in good health.
All right, good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Right, bye.
Thanks.
Local Women Magazine presents Local Women Podcast, the show for things that matter.